Think and Grow Rich. The transmutation of sex, the importance of sex. And I want to get this recording going immediately because Doug had a pretty good aha about us over 40. And he was really talking to him and me. So, Doug, go back into that because I definitely want to get this into the content. I think it's important.
Well, after 40, men tend to forget about the romance part. Now, I don't know if women do that or not, but I think that's a huge error because that's kind of the thing that makes it all exciting and keeps the life in it. I didn't get married until I was 49, so that time in my life, because I guess I was over. I mean, that time was extremely special, and I think it always is with people. But boy, I tell you what, that changed the way that I did a lot of things, and I'm still working on that. I want to get that more. This particular chapter has inspired me to do that more. So the name of this chapter, The Mystery of Sex Transmutation, I think that's exactly what this is. It's a mystery, and it stays a mystery. And the whole part of the romance is the mystery. It's the excitement. It's the you don't know what's going to happen when you do these types of things, and you're just going to hope that you have a great outcome, right? So,
well, and I love this trifecta in here of love, sex, and romance as the chapter grew. And when you brought that in this morning, I almost thought, like, from a purely male perspective, as we are totally outnumbered today, Doug. All right, let's just keep that in mind. It's almost the bridge between the love and the sex. It's almost what can connect those. And Caesar, thank you. It's now 3-9. Good job, Caesar. We're building numbers. So, I saw that in a moment as, a radically important part that, like you said, as we age, as we age and gets focused on the business and the kids and the life, we allow that to slip. And it is absolutely something, as you've said, and I've read that, you know what? There's a higher level of commitment to these topics after reading this chapter. So I am looking at the chat. Let's see who else has a mic hot. Oh, I can't go straight from Doug to Jeanette. Somebody's go with me. Come on.
I was thinking when Doug was talking and he said he didn't know about this stuff, I said, until Jeanette told him. Just saying. Men don't.
It was really the experience that I had with Jeanette that really kind of lit that candle. So,
yeah, I think your relationship is. There's so many levels of a relationship, and I'm learning it myself. Is part of it is just being in synchrony with the other person, and I also read where it talked about how when marriages don't go well, it is that idea that someone is nagging the other person. But in my belief is that if someone is at that point where they feel that they have to nag, there's already a problem going. What's happening in that dynamic? I know Ann gets me. I don't know if anybody else gets this.
We'll roll into Ann as well. Here's the intriguing thing for me. The nagging part for most people, I'm speaking through my lens personally. So some might see it as demanding or whatever other labels you want to put on it, comes from an unmet expectation.
Good point.
So it's still on the nagger to at least look through that lens of the unmet expectation. And going back to the content and going back to a lot that we've talked about, start thinking about how to get a different way towards that. open-minded approach. Whatever you're nagging, whatever, let's go to sex, because most of the time from the male perspective, that's where the nagging is happening, right? So, and most of the time it's nagging. All that does is make things worse, and I want and I don't, and it just makes things worse. So now we get to get creative. And as Doug brought back in, maybe the romance piece. You never know what you can do. And this is a fun place as long as you're authentic with your partner, that you can let them know that you're testing and playing different approaches to see if we can get to a better place.
So I do have to add one more thing here.
Go for it, Celeste. And then I have one thing, and then we're going to go to Jeanette.
I feel like I am an expert. I am a woman. And I will tell you, having an intimate partner romance you in advance of the act, even if it's something as simple as kind words or acts of servitude, and like cleaning up the kitchen, maybe something like that, just without having had to have had someone say, this is what I want, just that person who shows up and does. I think many relationships would be healed if that was what was happening. And in kind, I'm looking for, what is it that men are looking for from a woman that makes it easier for us to understand what is the course.
So here's where I want to take this, though, to wrap this piece up before you go to Jeanette, of it affecting business. Because again, looking through my lens, when Marcy and I are at the top of our game, when it's clicking, I am flipping unstoppable on the business side. I mean, she can point me, go, and magic happens. And when we're having those valleys, man, business tends to be rockier. And I suspect it's for everybody, because the reason we do what we do is for the personal. Our why, our motivation, our activity is usually that relationship. So Jeanette, you're up, and then Nafritha.
I am so grateful. One of the books that was given to Doug and I when we got married, and it had a workbook with it, but I did not read it until 17 years into our marriage. And it has made a big difference for me in my understanding of things. The book is called Love and Respect. And it's very clear. Men find it hard to love somebody who does not respect them, and women do not want do not want to respect somebody who does not love them. So when we change our responses within ourselves, we can do that. And I actually, right when I was reading that book, an amazing military lady who was going through another, about to go into another marriage, and she was talking about it failing, and she wasn't sure if that was going to work. I just said to her, okay, when you're at work, you treat all of these people with respect, but when you come home, you just want to be loved. You don't want to do that, right? And she said, well, yeah, I've done this all day long. I've done the business thing all day long. I said, so you're also marrying another military person, and he's used to being respected. So when you find out those things, she read the book. And she read it probably in a week. And she said it changed the way she treated her sons. It changed everything about it. Yes, they are married. As far as I know, they're doing well. Will they have ups and downs? Probably. But that was transformational in finding places where I could treat Doug with more respect. I mean, I was never purposefully disrespectful to him, and I never will be. And he knows that, thank goodness. But there's a lot of other relationships that don't get that. They don't know that that's what's going on with it. So love and respect. If you give him the love, give her the love, even though you don't feel respected, and give him the respect even when you don't feel loved, and you will find you can start opening doors again. It's phenomenal how that is so clear and simple and can be so much work. It means putting aside, and this isn't abuse. Abuse never fits either side, because you can use love abuse and you can use physical abuse. So I'm not talking that. When two people truly care and they really are looking for a solution, that will open doors that you never would have expected.
Perfection, my dear. Absolutely perfection. I love looking through that lens of love and respect. And hey, it's about sex too, right? What else you guys have? And you've been popping in and out and even maybe popping off with your microphone off. What do you got?
No, I was just giving praise at point. Like Celeste, I was saying, yes. Jeanette came in and said the love and respect dynamic. Like, and then because I'm like, I've been there, I've done that. It doesn't work. And then she gave the key point: two people who truly care, looking for a solution. There's your moment. Like that's it, Jeanette. And I think that, I don't know. That's a whole nother topic. I'm not even going to go there. I feel like there's a lot of content in the book, which has been sort of derailed by the gender wars here. And I was trying to shut my mouth is really what I was trying to do, is cheer people on when they hit those points. I'm going to just briefly pop in and talk about the idea of infinite intelligence and connecting with the higher parts of ourselves. I really appreciated the part where they were talking about the act of closing your eyes, right? And the intention of, I forget exactly what he says. I've got it. Yeah. But the intention of closing your eyes and focusing on the knowns of the situation, and then focusing on the unknowns of the situation. What do I not know about this situation? And giving that opportunity to wash over. And I think that the interesting thing about this is that it's not the sort of thing you can do at once and say, oh, that doesn't work. I'm not connected. This is a practice, just like playing the piano, just like learning a language, just like getting good at drawing. It's something that we would do over and over and over repeatedly to wash our brain, think of what we know about the situation, and then ask what is it that we do not know or understand about this situation. I thought that was a really interesting topic. And then also because I have now read the chapter, and I think this is a really hard book to read in different editions. I think this is a book you got to pick an edition and you got to run with it, because one of the editions is very racially, sexually looking away, like, we won't call it racist, sexist, but maybe. Yes. And then the other ones are much more muted on that level. And so I think that it's a book where just the different varieties create a lot of tension in the room that are not necessarily there in all of the versions of the book. But I will say that my listening to this, not the reading of the original, but my listening to this with all of the editor's notes, that what he is saying, that the author is saying, and Napoleon Hill is saying, is charisma, it's potency, it's vibrancy, right? It's how do we become a compelling person and take that and put it out in the world. And that is a given, right? That, like, I think that is the heart of what he is getting at in this chapter, is stand up, throw your shoulders back, strut out into the world, like strut, baby, just strut. Have knowing in your own sexual fire. I'll call it that. Not your sexual output at the world, but your own personal version of sexual fire. So,
by the way, that is a great analysis. The internal fire, not the external behavior. Because I absolutely agree that is a lot more of what this content is about, and channeling that internal fire towards the things that get you where you want to go. Now, there's one other thing you started with, though, in acknowledging Jeanette, that I want to chat quickly about. Because the real magic is two people both searching for a solution. When it breaks down, what is one of the people searching for? What are they going after? What's their desire? to be right. Remember these two core basic human programmed elements to look good and to be right. The flip side, I don't want to look bad and I don't want to be wrong. And both of those are poison to success. When you dig your heels in just to be right. I mean, all of us, and I've been married coming up on 27 years, and I already know when the conversation starts what the fight looks like, the ping pong match looks like, as both people are in that wanting to be right for a moment, until one of us stops that behavior. It only takes one. Now, it may not be instantaneous. One continues stopping, though, and all of a sudden the conversation changes. So, Julianne, you were up. I saw Carrie come in, and then I see Jeanette.
Oh,
I still see Julianne, though. She's ready to go.
yes, I am. Got my book. Okay. There's a couple of things, I guess I don't have a problem with the misogynistic, racist, sexism type of a thing in this because there's a rawness to it. And it's the intention is not negative, and I don't receive it as negative in any way, shape, or form. But I'm also a person who's very in touch with her masculine energy. And the author talks about this. The emotions are states of mind. Nature has provided man with a chemistry of the mind, which operates in a manner similar to the principles of chemistry of matter. Take that one step further. We know scientifically that men and women have different brain chemistry going on during different things. Okay. So chemistry is really important to understand. That's one of the reasons that makes us different. It is a well-known fact that through the aid of chemistry of matter, that a chemist may create a deadly poison by mixing certain elements, none of which are in themselves harmful in the right proportions. The emotions may likewise be combined so as to create a deadly poison. The emotions of sex and jealousy, when mixed, may turn a person into an insane beast. So yeah, it's I think it's really important too, because obviously I got married back in 1990, so that was a long time ago. You see my man occasionally, he tries to stay off camera when he says goodbye to me before he goes to work, but he knows he is not to leave the house. If I'm sleeping, if I'm ill, it doesn't matter. He gives me a kiss goodbye before he goes to work. That's a given, no matter what's going on. And so it's like, I'll go like this. I'm like, here, this is off camera. And so he'll put his face up to that point to give me a kiss goodbye. And some of the things that, the books that we've read throughout our marriage is, it talked about the chemistry, the brain chemistry of a man. And it said literally it told you the best time to have a deep discussion where you want to get into a solution is right after sex. And that is because of the way the brain flows. So mama, knowing what she knew, would make sure we had a raunchy night and and then be like, hey, babe. And totally willing to have a conversation without getting into defensive mode because of the way a man's brain is wired. And it's a masculine energy that will make the blood flow to the frontal cortex that actually creates the shutdown, the defense mode. It's protection. And learning that chemistry was really important to me. So I think it's really awesome that the author touched on that. Likewise, with a woman, our feminine energy is meant to receive. So the male energy is producing and the female energy is receiving. And so to be in touch with my divine feminine self allows me to be able to be open-minded and receive and creative. But after sex, Monday morning sex is a great way. He has the best weeks, man, when he gets a good Monday morning sexing.
Woo!
I know, but you know what? I know it's amazing when you sit there and you can look at it and you go, oh. So even if I'm not feeling well or whatever, I know it's a gift to him to let him be creative, find solutions, because it gets it gets a man in touch with their feminine self afterward.
Oh, I just muted you accidentally, Julianne. I just hit a button, didn't mean to.
I think you did. No.
No, I didn't.
But what I'm saying is that I realized that, and I mean, come on. I mean, we've been married for a very, very long time, and we've had our troubles, and we've actually gotten divorced and remarried. So I'm saying,
so, more than realizing it at this point in the world, though, you're utilizing it. I would say using, but there's all this negative connotation. You're utilizing it for the betterment of his success, the week he's going to have, your marriage. And I think that's a big part of what the author's putting in here too, that gosh darn it, this energy can be tapped into and magic can happen. Nafritha, my dear, I know you've been back and forth. What do you got?
Oh, I just kind of turned my mic off because I was waiting my turn. But I guess it's perfect timing, right? Because listening to you guys speak, right? Like thinking about the romance, right? Or the foreplay, like even listening to Julianne, like I started to think, how do we stay romantic with, I put our business, right? Because we are talking about business. So even though we're talking about sex and its mystery of transmutation, right? So how do we do that, right? And it just made me think about a few things, but mainly communicating clearly, right? We've talked about that a lot of times in the room. Do your client know what you are expecting? And do they know what you're expecting of them? Right. I think that helps a lot. And a part, like something that jumped out at me, even listening to what you said, Julian, right? We know when to do certain things. We know the time. You get to learn people. And that made me think about that building rapport part, right? When you're building rapport with a client, you're getting to know them. You're understanding their likes, what they do. You're probably going to figure out some triggers, right? You end up knowing who's the real decision maker. Like these are the things you learn. So you know when is a good time to approach a conversation. You know when is not a good time to approach a conversation, right? And then you also know that even when I don't feel so good, if I dig a little bit deeper and show up like this, the outcome because of what the other has to input will be greater. So sometimes you make that sacrifice and you're like, today I'm not really in the mood, but you know what? I'm going to show up anyway, right? You kind of become selfless in that moment too, because you're thinking of the other person and what they need and putting that before what you need. I also think too, it's a self-development thing as well, because when we talk about the nagging, right, even talking about what Ann said, you pick up on certain things because of your raz. So certain things that may jump out at me in the book may not jump out at Coach Russ, because he's like, oh, I didn't see that. Like maybe not even that don't acknowledge it. It's just that your raz is not heightened to that thing, right? And so certain experiences may allow you to see certain things. So I did kind of catch some of what Ann was saying. And I don't know, maybe it's just because of my experiences, right? Being in the military, being an African-American woman, right? That's like two double whammies. As a woman, you're supposed to be quiet. And then as an African-American, you're underprivileged or whatever. We can talk about that, right? So it's just, I think also it's the raz and what are we training ourselves? And then how do we look at the next person and a giving? And then the main piece is the clear communication, right? Because we talk about it. I thought you were going to bring up the book, The Love Language, Julianne, where you were talking about the books you read, right? Because that to me reminds me of the DISC profile, right? How do you know how to connect or communicate or serve when you don't even understand what language they speak? And so that nagging piece, like I've been told that I'm a nagger. And initially, I used to be offended until time elapsed. And then I was appreciated for the nagging. And I was just asked, not to convey in that manner where it's taken as a nag, because my significant other will later on come back and you're like, you know what, babe, in that moment I couldn't receive that, but when I went back and thought about it, thank you, I appreciate it because I needed that. And then we can talk, because we've now come to a place of communication which is way better where we started, where he could say, you kind of offended me when you said XYZ, so maybe next time can you refrain from using that so I can hear your message clearly and not put up that defense mechanism, right?
And
So I
that's
think it's a lot of pieces to it, and I could kind of continue, but I'm gonna let somebody else go. So that's it.
Well, I will tell you, and we've talked about this before, how you speak it is more important than the words you use. Okay, the delivery, so the tonality, rate of speech. In fact, 55% of your communication is body language, 38% is tonality, rate of speech, volume, etc., and only 7% is the words you use. You can tell somebody to go to hell if you do it the right way. They look forward to the trip. So when that quote nagging comes along, first places I would look is body language, tonality, rate of speech. Your partner isn't paying attention to those things like you are because they aren't trained in it. So they'll say what you said. I bet you 9 times out of 10, it's how you said it. Caesar, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Coach. This is such a heavy chapter because it talks about the man in the 30s and the 40s. And I was like, holy, that is so true. And then as well as how my desire and my level of manness and confidence and everything went up exponentially after meeting Celeste, who knows her, or at least met her last in our holiday party. So this was a very subject that was intense for myself, but I wanted to point out a few things before we go. And this one specifically, not all knowledge which one accumulates through experience is accurate. Ideas received through the creative faculty are much more reliable for the reason that they come from sources more reliable than which are available to the reasoning faculty of the mind. So that's one thing, because we're always like, oh, I experienced this, Coach. We've been on a phone call with one guy's like, I experienced this racial stuff and all this experiences, and was it racial, or was it really through his lens that he was seeing that? Just as well, I heard a few people mention racism or something like that, and I have this original, I think, edition, and I haven't picked up on that, and I have this one that says original version of it, and I listen to the audio. Sometimes the audio goes too much on tangents, off subject, and that's why I was like, let's keep on, because it's a heavy chapter as well. All of them are, but anyway, the next, there's so many things. I mean, I just really wanted to touch on that, Coach, and let you guys speak, because I can really talk for quite a while about all of these. And here's another one too that hit. If a woman permits her husband to lose interest in her and become more interested in other women, it's usually because of her ignorance and indifference towards the subject of sex, love, and romance. And of course, that goes to the man as well. If it's unknown to you that your woman is losing interest, that's on you as well. I can pick up a lot of the times, because as is very she expresses without expressing it. I can tell by her facial expressions, and I'm like, what's wrong? And if I wouldn't do that, you can let that linger into months or days, months and weeks, until it really destroys your relationship, unless you hit it on the head. And you, as I think Nafrita said it, your significant other said, hey, this is if we can do that differently, that would be great. But again, this is an amazing chapter, and I've listened to this book before, but I didn't get all this from it last time.
Yeah, doing it in this format, we get to go a lot deeper. And I want to have to wrap up today, since Caesar brought this in the room in this moment. I want to give you guys another gift on communication and content. So ladies that wish to participate, you can turn your microphones on, because Caesar said something which was awesome. And I want to give everybody the gift of solution, because he said, what's wrong? And if you're in a difficult state of mind and your significant other asks what's wrong, what's the answer?
Celeste said it
Yeah,
best.
Teresa said
Nothing.
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 Okay.
That's a
I'm fine.
danger word.
So here's the fun with this. Instead of what's wrong, I want you to use what's troubling you.
That's good.
And I want you to tell your partner that you're making that change to what's troubling you. Because I teach that, I do it, I've used it. And all of a sudden, when I'm being shitty, Marcy will look at me with a grin and go, "What's troubling you?" And it's an immediate ice break. Because now we're going to be authentic. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some laughs because she's using my own words against me. So you guys come in as the authority of this language change and you keep using it. And then there will be a moment that your spouse uses it with you. And from that point on, it's a game changer. Okay.
I have something to
Go
contribute.
for it, Ann. Throw it in there real quick.
Yeah. So my current relationship is really physically comfortable. And I was speaking with a friend of mine and she's like, my guy he says I don't compliment him enough or I'm not grateful enough. And I said, we talk about this a lot. And I said, is it possible that what you're not doing is complimenting and being grateful in the right way? I said, because when I tell my cutie that he's done something right or that I appreciate him, it almost always comes with a kiss on the cheek, a snuggle into the shoulder, a lean on the body. Hey, baby, you know what? I really appreciate that. That was so sweet of you, like rubbing the shoulder. And so, with the idea of what's troubling you, I would say even more so, like, walking up, head on the shoulder. Hey, hon, I feel like something's troubling you. Can we talk about this? Right? Just the language and the touch and the seeking of that physical connection as the first point of communication is really big, because what's troubling you, coach, feels clinical. And hey, Carrie, come here, hon. I feel like you need a hug. What's troubling you, babe? Like, they're very different ways of communicating. And one of them feels like you want to get to the heart of the matter. And one of them is like, what's your fucking problem? Sorry, excuse my language. What's your problem?
Well, and the interesting thing you've got on that is you very well may absolutely right. And again, back to Nefritha and the love languages. His love language very well may be touch. So that's a great way to start that conversation. I know that's not my spouse's, and she would take that as you're just trying to get lucky. So just putting that out there. Now, if I go start doing the dishes and cleaning up and say, hey, what's troubling you is I'm fixing the mess I made, totally different story. So guys, it's Friday. I want to touch on two quick things with you. Again, conversation time this afternoon. The room should be working. You guys should get in there. It's Freedom Friday. Start really working on that growth. I have a private, small mastermind that we've been playing with just 1 week so far that goes from 11 to 12. And I think we're going to be able to do that in 30 minutes, 11 to 11:30. So based on the content, some of our conversations this week, I'm thinking of opening up a second half of that and building it to 50. So again, this is specifically around business development, bringing in leverage, the recruiting growth part of the business. I'm just curious by show of hands, because most of you are not in that private one. If I had a semi-private that grew from the 9 to the 50, how many of you would want to be in that second half from 11:30 to 12 Central every single Friday? It's a commitment. Awesome. All right. Number 2, I have to recognize right now. Alicia, get your mic hot.
Good morning.
She has been committed to following the model, calling and leaning into me, asking questions. Please give us the update on For Sale by Owners by Alicia.
2 listings, one of which is 900,000.
All right. It works when you do it. You follow the model, you ask for help, and she stays open-minded. She doesn't never digs into, no, this is the right, or no, because. She never blames, complains, or justifies. She asks for help, and she is making magic happen. And I am absolutely blessed to be in partnership with you, Alicia. I'm so proud of you. All
Thank
right.
you. I appreciate the help. This couldn't have happened without all of you guys, honestly.
Yep.